Hi, everyone. What I'm going to walk you through today is our privacy management solution. I do want to call out that the information that you will see here is still Microsoft confidential, so we are not sharing this publicly yet. So please hold off on any external announcements until we share this information publicly. Catherine did set a really good context for why we are investing in privacy and privacy management in general. What I would do is I'll focus a little bit more on what the solution actually is and go over some of these context setting really quickly here. So Microsoft really believes that privacy is a human right and everybody should have the right to their data. We build controls in our tools such that it is secure and private. What we are really addressing with our solution is the challenge that organizations are facing today because of increasing privacy requirements across the globe. If you are an organization that has offices in different countries, you're subject to different regulations, and these requirements are just increasing over time. US, actually, there are 26 states that have passed some form of privacy legislation. Catherine walked us through this slide, but what I really want to focus here is these are some challenges that have resonated really well when we spoke to customers and did research on what we should build. Only 1% of organizations today have actually automated their process of responding to subject rights requests. It just speaks to the opportunity that is out there to not only help customers with how they are managing privacy risks, but also how they are managing subject rights requests today. I did want to share some stats that we have seen. There are 67% of organizations today said that they don't conduct any privacy training. Data owners in an organization, people like you and me who are responsible for collecting the personal data, who have the most context around personal data, are people who really understand what to do with that data to mitigate risks. In absence of training, there is a gap that we're not driving behavioral change for these people who can take very simple steps to actually mitigate these risks, and we'll see how the solution helps do that. 80% of organizations today use manual methods or monthly, quarterly audits, as Catherine mentioned earlier, so that they have only point-in-time assessment of their privacy risks, and there are huge blind spots. We'll see how the solution addresses that. And I already mentioned subject rights requests. Just want to show what research shows here. Organizations are spending around over $200,000 a month in just responding to subject rights. This today tends to be a really complicated process because you have to make sure that you're collaborating across different stakeholders, across different teams, whether it's legal, HR. You have to identify if the data that you're sending back to the subject is under any kind of legal hold or confidentiality hold. There is a really long review process to ensure that you're not sending anybody else's personal information, because one file could have the subject's information as well as other people's personal information. So it's highly manual today. Here are some things that we've been hearing from customers. Catherine spoke to the slide, so I'm not going to go too deep, but want to call out your attention to cross-border data transfers that we are hearing over and over again, a capability and solution that's resonating really well, and I'll walk you through that. Already mentioned subject rights requests, and the other thing is data minimization, and we'll see how the solution helps address that. Before I dive into the solution, though, wanted to highlight the shared responsibility model. Microsoft, as a cloud service provider, builds controls within our tools so that you have the privilege to control your information. I guess privilege is the wrong word. You should be able to control your information. Organization's responsibility on the side is to use and secure your endpoints, to make sure you're adding sensitivity labels. So there are some steps that organizations have to take when we want to talk about end-to-end privacy and security. And this is where privacy management also comes in. Today, we have Microsoft Information Protection that helps you protect sensitive data. We have Microsoft Defender that allows you to protect your endpoints, Azure Active Directory that does identity and access. Privacy management would be our solution that will help you manage and prevent against privacy risks. So diving into the solution, what is privacy management? We've built a solution that will help organizations build a privacy resilient workplace. It starts with identifying personal information that lives in your Microsoft 365 environment. But now organizations don't have to do that manually. We will automatically find that information and show it to them. But in addition to finding the information, what we are also doing is finding potential privacy risks and conflicts. I want to call attention to some of the risks that we see here. Data overexposure, which is basically, is my data being shared by more people than it needs to be? The tool will detect data overexposure or files that have data that are overexposed and show that to the admins to then be able to take action. Same thing with data minimization. Have I collected personal information that has been sitting in the environment for days and months and has not been touched? The solution will bring that up, bubble it up to the admin so that actions can be taken. Data transfers are transfers across departments, transfers across boundaries, or transfers across region. And these are mandated by privacy regulations. And then there is also data conflicts, which I was alluding to before, is a given personal information in some sort of conflict? For example, is it on legal hold? Is it on confidential hold? Do I have to review it, redact it? So there can be a bunch of different challenges before you respond to a subject rights request. So that's where data conflict comes in. So the solution overall identifies all of this in your M365 environment and provides that granular view so that now you are better informed to be able to take actions and mitigate risks. The next thing that it does is actually helps you automate privacy operations. What I mean by that is the solution provides default and customizable out-of-box policy templates. These templates can be customized to include a given location that you might want the policy to apply to, user groups, etc. And once you have set it up, if there is any instance of these risks in your environment, it'll then be able to provide you visibility in almost in the moment so that you're able to mitigate risk and you don't have to wait for that annual or quarterly assessment. And the last thing that I'm really excited about is empowering employees to make smart data handling decisions. I alluded to this piece a little bit before, but we really believe that data owners are best positioned to mitigate risks because admins, though they can mitigate risk, don't always have context behind personal data that lives in the environment. So how do you make sure that these individual or information workers are armed with enough information so that they can take actions in the moment to mitigate risk? This also allows organizations to now take privacy more proactively rather than be reactive to it, and freeing up the admin's time to focus on more high severity tasks. And a few ways that we do that is by providing data owners contextual training. by giving them guidance on what could be the next or the most helpful recommended remediation action. And all these controls are actually built into the solution, so they don't have to leave the app that they are using to go to a different location to remediate this. A few callouts here that I want to make is our privacy solution is integrated with our compliance suite. So you will be able to access it from the compliance center where all of our other solutions like insider risk management, e-discovery, compliance manager live. Catherine alluded to the difference between privacy and security before. And I think bringing in that privacy angle or an additional layer of the purpose of use of personal data is what makes privacy, security, compliance all integrated. And that's the approach that we have taken in the solution as well. I mentioned this earlier, but the ability of the solution to understand the context of data, to understand the context of end users' actions, and then provide recommendation is something that we are very excited about. And once we enable every information worker in an organization to do so, we help organizations approach privacy in a more proactive way. So next, I want to touch on how this looks in the solution. What you're seeing here is our overview dashboard within privacy management. This dashboard is designed to be dynamic. You are able to see trends over time, but I want to call attention to this box to the right, which talks about large data transfer that was detected from Germany. If policies are set in your organization by the admin, you will be able to see this. The severity that you see here is customizable. So depending upon how important this is for the organization, admins can set these policies up. And as mentioned, data transfers can be between departments, between regions, or between geographies. On the information worker side, however, once the policy is implemented, you see here that it blocks them from sending personal information right in the moment through Microsoft Teams. Here, someone's trying to send John's SSN number, but since the data transfer policy was set in the organization, they're not able to do so. But we are taking this a step further. We are also providing them information on, hey, why you should not do this, because it is the organization's policy to not be able to share personal information over Teams. If the user thinks that this is still important for the business, they can override the policy by providing justification, but they also get training links, and then they can, in the moment, understand their organization's best practices around data transfers. This is our data overexposure policy and how it looks on the end user side. Here you're seeing an email digest that we're sending to the end user with recommended actions that they can take from within Outlook itself. So it says that this particular document is overexposed or it might have open access. So the user can either choose to make it private, therefore limiting access, or keep the document. If they decide to keep it, they can either report it as false positive if they choose to do so, or provide a business justification. Again, here, what I want to call to the attention is, as this animation moves forward, you will see a link at the bottom here which says avoid privacy pitfalls. That is the training that the admin can configure dependent on the privacy incident. So that training could be a very specific data overexposure training for the end user to then learn about this specific type of privacy incident. And that is what drives real behavioral change. And the third one, data minimization. The experience on the information worker side is very similar to data overexposure. Since this is data minimization, the two options that the end user gets here is either to delete the file or move it to trash, or to keep it by providing business justification. Switching gears a little bit, I want to touch upon subject requests management. This is one feature that we have heard a lot from customers about, and we are automating this. So our friend Dave here has, excuse me, right to access his information. He has the right to be able to port that information. We don't support right to be forgotten yet. That will be coming soon. So once we receive a subject rights request in the tool, it will automatically gather all the relevant information from your M365 environment and take it a step further. So not only it shows you all the files and content with Dave's information, it also shows you all of the data conflicts that I alluded to before. Are some of the files that Dave's information in confidential, or do they have retention labels applied to them? Is there multiple personal data, which is the case where a single file could contain Dave's information, but also could contain my information. And when you're responding to a subject rights request, you don't want to send any other person's personal information to the subject. So it'll help you identify all of that very easily. It then allows you to create a secure Teams channel. Actually, it creates it for you. And we heard a lot from customers that it's really hard to securely collaborate, and you tend to create more personal information copies when you're collaborating. So we create a Teams channel, private Teams channel in the backend that can be used to collaborate to respond to the request. We also have built-in Power Automate extensibility with Power Automate. You can set calendar reminders for yourself, or you can link it to ServiceNow and track it using a third-party app that you are more used to, basically integrating in your business processes. Once that's done, in the review stage, we have a built-in review and annotate so that you can redact content. You don't have to leave the privacy management solution, go to a different application to do so. And if you're happy with all the review, you can then send the information back to Dave. This is sent in an encrypted fashion. The piece that I'm really excited about in the DSR is that we've already built API. So today, if you are an organization that's using your own app or using an ISV app to do this, you can leverage our API access and automatically create subject rights requests within privacy management. It will then go and do all of the things that I mentioned in the last slide. And once the content is ready to be delivered, it'll deliver it. It'll deliver an encrypted link to your app that you're using. A few call outs here. As we built this solution, we wanted to make sure that we are thinking about privacy throughout its journey. So admins have to opt in. We wouldn't do anything by default. There is pseudo anonymization. What I mean by that is if you're an admin or anybody that doesn't have the required rights, you are not able to see individual workers' information. There are role-based access controls, so only certain people who have the right privileges will be able to see certain types of information and perform certain actions, and the data remains private. Also plug in Compliance Manager. There are over 180 assessments in Compliance Manager today that are related to data protection and privacy. We are mapping these controls to privacy management, so it'll make it easier for customers to use privacy management, build in those controls, and then make sure that they are also complying with the regulations. And here are some resources. Privacy management is in preview today. We have a preview trial that can be accessed, so please try the solution. We're always looking for feedback. Tell us what you think, how can we make it better, and then if you need any documentation, it is also available at the link there.